Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow Volume 1 Review. Publisher J Novel Club is perhaps best known for his esoteric titles like In Another World for my smartphone or The Standard Civil Bookware, but more recently, they started to branch out more regularly into titles that don't quite fit the traditional tropes of the genre. Today, I'm here to take a look at their latest offering, Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow to see what it offer reads. Our story follows Keisuke, a high school boy who suddenly finds himself in another world. What this will usually be the start of the grand adventure in other stories. For Keisuke, it proves nothing but only as the world he's found himself in is being thrown a great disaster and now very few people remain. Keisuke spent his day traveling in a steam-powered vehicle, searching for a way to return home. As readers, we're not sure exactly how long Keisuke has been traveling by himself, but it's long enough for him to have become so fed up and lonely that he's contemplated bringing an end to it all. Nevertheless, he trudges onwards and eventually his persistence is rewarded when he stops at an abandoned train station and meets Nito, a half-elf who is there, painting in her sketchbook. Naturally, Nito is very aware of Keisuke to begin with. After all, she's a young girl traveling alone. However, when Keisuke settles down to cook dinner for the evening, she becomes intrigued and wanders over. She is still afraid of getting too close to him and stubbornly refuses his kind offer to eat together. But eventually, she is won over as her huge hunger gets the better of her, for there begins a tender relationship that grows throughout the rest of the book. Eventually, thanks to both the vehicles breaking down and only being able to repair one by taking parts from the other, Keisuke and Nito decide to try traveling together, which delights Keisuke since he's been nothing but lonely all this time. As it turns out, they're both searching for something. Nito's looking for the places her mother visited and drew into the sketchbook. She's inherited and Keisuke is chasing after someone he met before this book began. While either of them reach their destinations, well, there remains to be seen. In many ways, Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow feels similar to Kito's Journey or Wandering Witch, in that it features very episodic stories with an overarching plot running through them. Despite the fact this world is fairly barren, Keisuke and Nito do meet each other. Travelers on the road and spend some time listening to their stories and sharing a meal before moving on. I would say the tales are ever as bleak as either the series drew comparisons to, but they're never without a sense of loose and delicacy either. The other nice thing is that author Kasami Dori never drowns the reader in information dumps. Starting the novel partway through Keisuke's story means we don't have to deal with him finding his feet and learning how to survive like most other books in the genre. Through meeting Nito and other travelers, he, and by extension the reader, learns how the world came to be in a state and gets hints about how this world used to be when it flourished. And there is one criticism anyhow about the writing, is that the cooking scenes tend to go on too long. I know it's a trend right now, with light novels that talk at length about food and cooking, but here I think it can distract from the otherwise engrossing narrative. Andron Kasamidori's previous series, currently on license, was about the protagonist running a cafe and a fantasy world. So knowing that, it's no surprise that this work will also be heavy in food descriptions. But away from that minor criticism, I have to say how impressed I am with the story Kasemidori has presented here. It's certainly not easy to create a world as interesting as this one while simultaneously feeding the reader on its regions. On the surface, it seems like a fairly cute slice of life series, but dig a little deeper and there is a lot to think about long after you reach the end of the first volume. Rather than the Otherworld adventure, this one feels like a comfortable fantasy story, which I think is to its benefit in this crowded market. It's easy to recommend even those who are long grown tired of the genre. Kazumi Dori never showed it in your face that this is a fantasy world. Instead, the set of scene just enough for you to feel the otherworldly atmosphere without focusing on it too much. As previously mentioned, Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow Volume 1 comes to the West thanks to J Novel Club, who has released it digitally. The series has been translated by MPT and the translation reads well with no issues to note. Included at the end of the book are color illustrations and a color character's log, which talks about some of the design choices for the character's outfits. Speaking of illustrations, it has been handled by Nimoshi, and solidly captured the innocence and youthful appearance of Keisuke and Nito. The color images in particular are very cute and portray the easygoing nature of the two well. The series is ongoing in 2 volumes in Japan. J Novel Club is already translating and releasing the second book through their subscription model, with the ebook release to follow in early March. Personally, I hope this one will also be given a print release, but we have to wait to see there. Overall, go with buying Otherworld. See You Tomorrow Volume 1 offers a terrific read for those looking for something different in an isekai genre. Just don't be fooled or put off by the cute cover. Underneath there is a creepy story waiting to be found. 9 over 10.